All right, so my name is Gabriella Ferguson. I work over in the Office of the Information Technology as a trainer and an instructional material designer. And today we are doing our workshop for creating online trainings using Google Workspace. I'm going to go through a little bit of housekeeping here before we start our training. I do have my camera on currently, but I will be turning it off here in just a few, so it's a little less distracting. But first things first, if you have questions, please type them in the chat. If I don't get to them as we're going through the presentation, I will have a Q&A at the end, so you are welcome to unmute then and ask your question. Please try to keep your mics and your cameras muted as we're going through here, again, to kind of keep down our distractions. This session will be recorded and potentially uploaded to YouTube, depending on how it goes. I will send out the presentation to those of you who are here during the session after the session, so keep an eye on your inbox for that. And then last but not least, you will get credit in Reporter based off of my Google Meets attendance list. So if you are here, you will have credit. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and turn my camera off. And we will go ahead and get started with our agenda. So, like I said, we are going to be talking about how to create a training using Google Apps. The way our agenda is set up for today, we're going to first start off by looking at how to create an outline in a script using Google Docs, how to actually create your presentation using Google Slides, how you can come in and create custom graphics using Google Drawings, how to present and record using Google Meet. So these are our big apps that we're going to look at for today, and a really great starter for creating an online training. I will be doing demonstrations throughout the presentation, so as I'm introducing new features and talking about them, I will also be showing you how to use them. So again, if you have questions as I'm going through them, feel free to type them in the chat. If you would like me to do something again or re-demonstrate something, feel free to put that in the chat as well. And depending on how much time we have at the end, I am more than happy to answer more questions and do further demonstrations there. Okay, so okay, let's go. Perfect. So like I said, we're going to start with how to use Google Docs. In this section of the presentation, we'll be talking about how to create an outline in a script by using features like Google Docs outlines, summaries, table of contents, suggest edits, as well as approval. So we're going to cover all of these features here. Starting with Google Docs outline. I'm sure a lot of us who have used Google Docs in the past have seen this feature, but if not, outline allows your user to structure your Google Docs. It will detect and list headings from your document. So as long as you are using the heading text style, it will detect that heading in the outline. This can also be used to create a table of contents. We'll be looking at both of these features. To access your outline, by default, most people will have this already on their Google Docs. You should see in the top left-hand corner, this icon down here looks like a little document. And when you click on it, you will see your outline. If you don't see that, you'll end up going into View and Show Outline. Okay, so the little animation on the side shows those steps. And like I said, I'll be demonstrating this in just a moment. I'm going to go through our summary and our tables of content first. So the next thing that we're talking about that may be new for a lot of us is Google Docs has a summaries feature now. So your summaries allows users to add a summary to the doc. So if you have a really long document and you just want to give a brief summary of what it is, so folks don't have to read through the entire document, this feature allows you to do that. It is also located in your outline panel. So again, if you don't see that outline panel, you'll go into View and Show Outline. And then when you click on your outline icon, you'll see a section that says Summary. Some things to note is that your summary is visible to users when they're inside of the doc, if they have access to the outline panel, as well as in the description of a file in Google Drive. So if someone is looking at this file inside of their Google Drive, they'll be able to see that description, in the description, that summary. And then the last little bit we're going to talk about before I go into our first demonstration is our table of contents. So your table of contents, again, allows users to structure your Google Doc. It also detects and lists headings from the document. You can create a table of contents several ways. The first way is if you have an outline, um, it will automatically pull those headings from the outline. If you don't, that is okay. You can create it as you go. You can insert a table of contents two ways. You can either go to your Insert tab and down to Table of Contents, or you can use what are called smart chips to insert a table of contents. And we are going to take a brief break and look at all these features. So I'm going to start with, perfect. This document, hopefully you can see my page right now. What we're going to look at is how to insert a table of contents both ways. In this particular example, there will not be an outline, so it will not pull headings from anywhere because this is a blank document. The first way is to, if you see here, you see type at to insert. So if we type the at symbol and start typing table of contents, you will see the option to add a table of contents. What it will ask is, do you want a table of contents with page numbers or without? And I'm just going to click on with, and it gives you some details on how this feature works. So add headings and they will appear to your table of contents. So if I come in and I want to do an introduction heading, by default, your Google Docs is going to have this as a normal text, but if you come into heading 1 and make it a heading, it is now a heading. Do not panic if you don't see it immediately come up in your table of contents. So most of the time you will have to refresh your table of contents. And to do that, you'll just click on where your table of contents will go. Come to the left where it says Update Table of Contents, and you'll notice that now it's added that heading with the page number. Okay. Another way to come in and insert a table of contents, I'm going to actually delete this one. To delete a table of contents, you'll right click on it, come down to your menu where it says Delete Table of Contents, and it will take it off your doc. The next way to actually add a table of contents is to go to your Insert, come to the bottom, you'll see Table of Contents, and you'll have those same options to either have it as plain text or links. So what this means, I'm going to click on links, is when you create a heading and you've updated your table of contents, you'll notice that it is now hyperlinked. And when you click on that hyperlink, it will take you to wherever that heading is in your document, which is really nice and a feature that I use pretty frequently. What we're going to look at next is our outlines with our table of contents. So I have a document that is already ready for that. This is our data security training transcript from this year. It's got a lot of headings and a lot of subheadings, so a great example for this. This particular doc already has an outline. So we have our headings, our subheadings. Everything here is a type of heading. The text style is some sort of heading, whether it's heading 1, 2, or 3. Okay. I want to create a table of contents based off of this outline. So all I'll have to do is I'm going to create a space here for my table of contents. I'm going to use the app. I'm going to do the insert feature. Come down to table of contents. I'm going to click on links. Again, I like this option to be able to come in and click wherever I want on my table of contents, and it will take me to wherever it is in the document. And you'll notice this time that it auto-generated a table of contents based on my headings that were in my outline. Because as I was creating my transcript, I was adding in headings for these things. You'll also notice that if I click on something, let's say physical security, it will take me to wherever that is in the document. Super duper helpful, super great here. And since we're already talking about our table of contents from our outline, we're going to go ahead and take a moment and look at our outline. So your outline functions pretty similarly to your table of contents in that it will create a heading based off of any text that has a heading style. So all of these have some sort of heading style. It also works the same way in that when you click on it, it will jump you to wherever it is in the document. You'll also notice that in your outline panel, we have what are called summaries. So like I said earlier, this is just a summary of the document. I went in, I typed using the little edit button here, and I just put that this is a draft of our transcript and it's awaiting approvals and feedback. So you'll be able to see that here inside the outline, but you can also see that inside of your details for your, gotta find it, I'm so sorry. Inside your details for your files in Google Drive. So if you have something inside of Google Drive and you look at the files, you'll be able to see the details, and here you'll be able to see the summary. Oh, I thought I had this pulled up already. Here we go. Here we not go. All right. Sorry, folks. I will skip that. So we are not eating up too much time, but you'll be able to see both of them inside of your descriptions. If for some reason, let's say we added a header we didn't mean to, or we made something a header that it did not need to be, okay, you'll notice that it'll put it in your outline. So your outline will just auto detect any text that is a header style. So it is important to make sure that you're paying attention to your style. It will do the same thing for your table of contents. You'll notice that when I update it, I now have that bit of text that is not what I wanted in my table of contents. It is very easy to change and fix. You'll just hop down to wherever that is. Make sure that you change it back to normal text. It'll go away from your outline, and then when you refresh your table of contents, remember, if you see something that doesn't look right and you know that you've changed it, just hit your refresh and it'll go back and make that edit for you. Okay, so I know that was a whole lot at one time, but do we have any questions about outlines or table of contents or summaries? Perfect. I'm going to take silence as golden. So what we're going to look at next then is suggesting inside of our documents, as well as approval. So suggest edits allows your user to make suggestions without actually altering the altering the original text. So they can provide some sort of feedback via text, and you can go in and you can accept or reject their suggestions. Perfect. Make sure that whoever you've shared your document with, that they have access as a commenter or an editor. If they're a viewer, they're not going to be able to use your suggesting feature. There's two ways to access your suggesting feature. You can either use the tab in the top right-hand corner where it says editing and change it to suggesting, or you can highlight whatever text it is you are trying to provide a suggestion for, and you'll get an icon that looks like the suggesting icon. So this right here, that little icon in the bottom, that green one, is your suggestion icon. The next thing we're going to talk about is your Google Docs approval. So again, a lot of the trainings that I do are pretty collaborative, or I at least want somebody to have their eyes on it once I've finished going through. And so I can send my doc with an approval to someone so they can go through and check and make sure everything looks good, provide suggestions and feedback. There are a couple of features here that you could allow for your approval. We're not going to take too deep of a dive into this, pretty high level here, but this is helpful for, again, having somebody to go back through and read through your script, making sure your content looks good, making sure it makes sense. I tend to send it to somebody that is not as knowledgeable about the content as myself. It's good to have that third-party view because I've talked about it so much. For me, it makes perfect sense. For somebody else, it may not. So we're going to look at these features inside of Google Docs. So I'm going to go back to our example content here. So again, this is a transcript. This is something I've already gone through and typed out for a recorded training. So I've taken a presentation, I've created a script, I'm feeling pretty good about it. I have an outline in, I've created a summary for folks to read. There's a table of content. And I'm going through and I noticed that on this example, we're using some sort of acronym, but I would prefer this to be spelled out. So I've highlighted that. You'll notice that when I highlighted that, I'm getting my suggest edits icon, so I can click on that. And as you start typing, you'll notice that it changes to green, okay? And then it's showing up as a comment, looks like a comment on the side. Oops. But it does not actually change your text. So you'll still see that you can see the original text here on the side, but within that little green box here, you'll see your suggestion. It'll show who suggested it, when they suggested it, and what they're replacing. So I said replace the acronym with the full word here. I have the option to accept or reject that. So anyone that has access to your document and has editor access to this document has the ability to accept or reject that suggestion. For this particular moment, I'm going to hit reject. If when you highlight, you don't get that icon for some reason, so right now I'm not getting that icon, I can come up to the top. By default, it'll probably be on editing, but if I click on editing and come down to suggestion, I will have that same feature to come in and type out what my suggestion is. And again, it'll show up the exact same way. It will kind of look like a comment. It'll tell you what I'm saying to replace what with, and you can accept or reject that suggestion. Notice that when you accept it, it does make an edit. So it will get rid of that original text and apply whatever that suggestion was. Okay. Approval. So again, I've gone through, I've made my script. I want somebody to approve this. I need to send it through my supervisor, my manager, my coworker. To get to your approvals, you can go to your files and come down to approvals. What this does is it sends over this document and allows whoever you've sent it to, your approvees, to provide feedback and allow them to approve or reject this document. So to go through this process, you'll click on make a request. I can add folks to my approval list. I'm going to add my account. I'm going to add Katie's account. I'm going to add our training accounts. Okay. Just like when you share other things, you have the option to come in and add a message. And then you have these other optional features down here. So you can have a due date. Let's say I need to have this looked at and approved or rejected by next Friday. So I will do that. I can add a time. So I would like it by end of day. And then press OK. And that will send your approval with a due date. There are some other features as well, as allow approvers to edit this file and lock file before sending approvals. I'm not going to take too deep of a dive into that right now, but I am going to click on send approval. And once I've done that, when I'm inside of this document, it will show me that pending approvals. I can click on view details, and that will show up on the side, and it will show me who I'm still waiting to get an approval from. There's approval activities. You can leave comments. You can see changes if changes are made by your approvers. And it also, down here, will show you that due date. And when you send your message, it will show that due date. But again, this is a great way to make sure that eyes have gone on your script before moving forward to make sure all your information is accurate. Questions about suggesting edits or approvals? Okay. One thing I do want to realize is with your approvals, oops, did that show up right? Yes. Making sure that whoever you're sending it to has at least editor or commenter rights. If not, they're not going to be able to do the approval. But it should ask you whether or not you want to give them access to that. Okay, cool. So what we're gonna step into next is we've created our script. That is your first step for creating your training, is making sure that if it's something you are going to record and you're wanting to upload online, that you've created a script. Now we can focus more on your graphics of the presentation part of it. Um, We'll start with using themes or talking about what themes are, talking about layouts. We'll look into features like Explore, as well as resources like your NC State branding resources. We'll look at some basic things like Animate, as well as best practices. Um, Excellent question. I believe so. I'm not 100% sure. So the question was, can you add approvers outside of your organization? I can look into that and let you know for sure. But I believe that is an option we have currently. Mhm. Yep. Other questions before I move on? Perfect. All right. So if you've taken one of our Google Slides workshops before, you've probably heard us talk about themes and layouts. So we're going to kind of briefly go through this. But themes allow consistency across your presentation. There are some preset themes with Google, but we also have some NC State branded templates that you're able to use. Themes are great, again, to stay consistent, but also they allow less work for you. If you have a layout that is already set up, all you have to do pretty much is go in and insert, and it will just duplicate yourself or itself, making sure that all your content is consistent. To access things like your NC State branded templates, there are two ways to access it. You can either access it from your drive by clicking on New and going to From Template, or you can go from File, New, and From Template, and you will see a section for NC State branded templates. You can also use the site slides.google.com and go to your template gallery, and you will see all of the templates that you have access to. I'm a stickler for the NC State top line template. I think it's an excellent template. Um, you can also go in and customize a theme using what's called your theme builder. Again, not going to take a super deep dive into that. That could be a class all its own. But it does allow you to go in and make some changes for, again, consistency, as well as for branding in a lot of cases. We're going to look at layouts, and then we'll do another demonstration. So again, layouts are here to help you stay consistent across your presentation. What's great for me anyway about these layouts options is that Google Slides has what's called Explore. And what Explore does is it will go and find and add suggestions based off of the content on your presentation. Um, it will look across your drive as well as the web, and again, it will auto suggest layouts. And we're going to look at this. I think this is a super great feature, especially if you don't think that you're super artistic or graphic. Google does the heavy lifting for you. So I am going to, let's do this first. So we'll look at where to get your branded templates. Okay. So I just went to slides.google.com, and again, I'll come into my template gallery, and you'll see your North Carolina State University templates. You can use these templates. They're all supposedly branded. There are some general templates. These are Google generated templates, so just kind of keep that in mind. I am going to go into our state branded templates, pick a template, and I'm going to look at our layouts real quick, and you'll see all the different types of layouts for this template. They're all NC State themed and branded, so it does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. But we can also close that real quick, go into slide and edit theme. And if you want to edit your theme, you want to add, let's say for your title and body layout, you want to add a graphic that lives down here and stays down here for every time you use that slide. You can do that. I'm going to find a really quick image just so I can show you. Perfect. This is just an image I pulled from online. So anytime you want to go in and you want to insert a slide that is, insert a slide, anytime it is that layout for title and body, it will keep that graphic on the page. Note it doesn't move. Again, this is a great way if you want something that's consistently on your slides that you don't have to readjust to make sure it's in the same place. If you don't want this graphic, let's say you go back and you realize you don't want this, but you've already made a bunch of copies of this slide, right? Instead of trying to go in individually and take this off, which you can't because you can't move it, when you go back into your theme builder and remove that graphic, it will remove it for all of the slides of that type. Okay. We're going to go to our Explorer. So I love Explorer for the auto suggest layouts. Again, if you don't feel super artistic or graphic, or if you're like me and sometimes you're a little lazy and just want something that's quick and easy, you can use your Explorer feature. So Explorer is in the bottom right-hand corner. It's this little icon. When you hover over it, it will expand out and say Explorer, and it will open your Explorer panel. You'll notice that it will have your layouts. It should say auto created from what's on your slide. So it's creating a layout based off of my text boxes and the colors and things that I have on this slide. And you can come in and you can pick a new layout. You can do that for any of your slides. Sometimes they're really great and they're right what we're looking for, sometimes not so much. Example, this isn't super on brand for NC State. Something else, though, I do want to point out is it does not take every single element on your page. So, for example, I picked a layout. You'll notice that I no longer have my logo, right? Because it is no longer the same layout. It is no longer that branded layout from before because I've now chosen a different layout from Explore. So keep that in mind as well if that is something you're wanting consistency across the board. Is if you're choosing a layout that is not from your themed panel, it may not have all the elements you want, but you can come back in and add those elements in. But I think it's a great feature if you're wanting some variety in your slides, but don't necessarily know how to go in and generate that variety. Your Explore panel is a great way to do that. Go back over here. Questions about our Explore or Layout for Theme Builder? Okay. Awesome. So some other great resources here are our branding resources here at NC State, brand.ncsu.edu. You can find things like what our brand colors are, icons, templates, logos, so much more that they've taken the heavy lifting and done it for you. I'm not going to go show you everything that's on that page, but if you have some time, this is a great resource if you're looking to find elements to help you stay on brand when you are creating things like a training and presentation. For example, this icon is one of their branded icons from that page. Everything is able to be, most elements you're able to download and use on your computer and in your editing software. Cool. Again, most of us have probably seen animations inside of Google Slides. They're a great way to create an interactive visual effect. You can animate text, images, slides, and more, so other objects if you decide to add in a shape or something like that to access your animation feature. There are two ways to do that. You can either select your object, insert an animation, or you can select your object and in the top right-hand corner, there will be an option to animate your object. And we'll look at that here in just a moment after we talk about some best practices. So when you're creating content for online and something, especially if it's something that you're wanting to stand alone for trainings and things, some things to keep in mind is visual. How does it look? Is it able to stand alone with just what's on the table? What's on the screen and what you were saying underneath, audio-wise. So for better formatting options, some things to keep in mind are your text align, your line spacing, and your clear formatting. And then there are a lot of other advanced features, but they depend on your object. So for example, videos, you can go in and customize your start and end time. For text, you can add padding. For images, you can recolor them. And we'll look at a few of these here. Okay, so I'm going to go to this one. There we go. So I have an example slide with a lot of stuff on it, just so we can go through and talk about some of the features we went through in the presentation. So we will start with text aligning and spacing and clear formatting. So a lot of times when folks want spacing between their lines, we will just go in and hit enter and enter again to add that spacing. The issue with that is if you want to come back later and add content or add another bullet, your spacing becomes off. And then it doesn't look as even as it once did, right? Because now there's space here that isn't here. Or if you've tabbed over a few times and you want to come in and add something else, your spacing's off again. To kind of help quell that, we should be using what's called our text align and our line spacing. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to get rid of most of that. I'm going to do a bullet point, and I'm just going to type out a couple of example lines. Okay. So instead of coming in, I want some space in between these bullet points. I think they're too close, but instead of coming in and trying to backspace and add that space via enter, what I can do is highlight my bullet points and come into my line spacing, and it will default to 1.15 as your space. But I can come in and say, I want to double that. I want to give it some more space between these bullets. What this does for you is that anytime now that you come in and you want to add something else, it will have consistent spacing, and you won't have to worry about your text moving or being affected by spaces that you've added using enter or the tab feature. You can also come in and again work with your text align. So I'm going to highlight all that and get rid of that random space. Pretty straightforward. We've probably all seen this before. We have our left align, center, right align, or justify. My favorite though are these align here. This aligns to your text box. So again, a lot of times people, when they want something centered in a text box, will just hit enter until it's centered and then go back through and get rid of the bullet points. But a lot of times that again messes with your spacing, doesn't look super great, and it's hard to go back in and edit if you need to. The easiest way to go in and adjust that is going to your align and coming into, let's say I want to center to my text box. And so when you add more content to your list, okay, it will auto adjust and you don't have to worry about losing spacing or misaligning something. Okay. Some other features we were talking about. I'm going to actually close these real quick. Things like animate and animation. So to animate, you can animate again your text box, things like images. If you have a video, if you have an object like an arrow or something, you can come in and add animations to that. I'm going to do the picture first. Two ways to access your animations are to select your object and go to animate up here at the top. If you don't see this, you probably see three little dots and click on that. That's your more menu and you should see animate. Or you can come into insert and go down towards the bottom where it says animation, and it will pull up your what's called motion tab on the side. And you have a lot of features here. You can add slide transition animations, or you can add an animation to an object. So it has an animation for my video and an animation for my wolf. And let's say I want to also add an animation for my text. I can just click on my text and click on add animation. And there is a lot of different animations to choose from. You can choose how it's animated, whether it's on a click or if everything is animated at one time. You can choose speed. If you have things like text, you can animate by paragraphs. So every time there's a new paragraph, you can have an animation for that. That works also for bulleted lists like this one over here. If you don't want an animation, you've made one, you realize you don't want something to be animated. So for example, I don't actually want an animation on this video. All you have to do is click on it and come to the trash can and delete the animation, and it will no longer be animated. You can see a preview of your animation by clicking on the play, and it will run through your animations. You'll see that this, as I click, is allowing me to animate them via paragraph or bullet points. So a lot of great features here. Like I said earlier, there are some other features based off the type of item that they are. So for your images, if you click on image and come to your format options here at the top, you will have things like recolor. So you can come in and recolor an image and say, I want it to be black and white. I can do that here. Your text has a different type of format option. So if I come into my text and click on text fitting, I have things like padding. I can come in and adjust how this looks inside of my text box. And then with videos, unsure why I'm getting an error, but you can still see down here at the bottom your option to come in and add a start time and an end time. So this is super great if you have a demonstration or a video you're trying to show during a training, but you don't want to show the entire video. You just need a short section of that video. You can come in and put your start and end time for that video. So a lot of cool features that you can really dive deep into for your slides and make a really nice interactive slide. Again, the goal here is to try to make it as standalone as possible and still interactive and engaging. Okay. Questions about best practices or animations or anything that we just went over? Okay. Cool. So another great app that I feel like a lot of people maybe don't use is Google Draws. So you can use this to create graphics, custom graphics, and there's two ways to kind of go about this. You can either bring it in via Docs, which is great if you're making a template or something with information on it and you want to add in a graphic. If you're trying to bring it into a slides, you do have to save it and bring it in as an image file. So we will go through those steps pretty quickly here. But to access Google Draws from your drive, you can go to your drive. And when you click on New, you'll see an option for more. So the different apps that are in there, and you should see Google Draws. And then you'll go in, you'll create your graphic. And like I said, you can either pull it into Docs if you want to. For this particular training, we're going to look at pulling it into Google Slides as an image, but you do have some flexibility there, which is really nice. So I'm going to start in my drive. And from drive, you should see your new here. Again, you'll have to come down to more. This isn't typically on your defaulted one. And then you should see Google Drawings. So what this does is open this little draw space. It's definitely more vector image friendly. So things that are straightforward mathematic straight lines or easy shapes. And I already have one made, so I'm going to go over to that one. I made this super cute penguin, and I would like to use it on my slides. Once you've made your drawing, what you'll end up doing is essentially just saving this as an image so you can pull it into your slides. Unfortunately, Google has not developed the feature yet inside of slides to just pull it from drawings, but I imagine that will be coming very soon. But until then, what you'll end up doing is going to File and Download and down to PNG. And it will save onto your computer based off of whatever name you gave it. I gave it Penguin, and because I've saved it earlier, it is Penguin 1, so it has a different name. And now when I go into my slides, you can pull it in several ways. You can pull it down from your tab if you have it here and drag it onto your document. You'll see this is now an image and I can use it however I want to on here. You'll also notice that it is transparent. which is super great. Anytime you're inside of here, if you see this little white and gray checkered background, that means it will be transparent. If you would like something behind it, if you want some kind of color, you can do that by adding a shape. Or you can right click and go to change your background color, and it will change to that color. So when you save it and export it, it will have that background color. Okay. Um, Another way to bring this is just like with any other image. You can go into your image, and for this, it's saved to the computer. So you'll go to your computer and probably downloads, and you can pull it from your computer. So again, a super great way to create custom graphics. Um, it doesn't have to be as detailed as this. It could be just an accent that you want to make that Google does not have. But it is a super nifty tool, again, to create custom graphics for your training. Cool, 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 cool. Questions about Google Draw? Awesome. All right. Well, then we will go through pretty much our last step here, which is we've made a script, it's gotten feedback, it's gotten approval, we've made a super great slideshow. And now we want to be able to go in and actually record our presentation so that we can upload it to whatever learning system that we're using. So Google Meet is a great way to do that. It allows you to record like what I'm doing currently, as well as create a transcript, and we'll talk about that. Okay. So I'm sure most of you have been in Google Meet and you've been able to present. If not, or you're not super familiar with it, it is located at the bottom bar. You should see it now that you're in Google Meet. It's this little icon right here. It allows you to present your screen. And it will give you 3 different options to present your screen. So you can either present your entire screen, a window, or a tab. And this matters a little bit, especially if you are recording. So for recording, I recommend that you use a tab because it is the best for videos and animation, especially if you're trying to add animation to your slides, or if you have a video. Your audio comes in a little bit better if you're using a tab versus your other 2 options, though your other 2 options are very plausible. For me currently, I'm using the entire screen option because I'm switching between using slides to present as well as demonstrating. But if I were just doing a training online separate from this, I would be using a tab. Yep. There we go. So once you get super familiar with your presenting, the next thing is recording. So Google Meet does allow you to record your sessions. You do need to be the organizer of the Google Meet or a co-host for the Google Meet to access the recording options. To get to your recording options, all you'll do is click on your More icon, which is located to the right of your present. You'll go to Manage Recording and then Start Recording. Once you click on Start Recording, you'll get this, right before you click on Start Recording, you'll get this menu. Notice that it gives you an option to start a transcript. Right now, I think we're limited to English only, but Google is hopefully going to expand very soon and include other languages. But this is a super great feature. If you are looking, again, to have a transcript, this is great for closed captioning and using it later. So I highly recommend, even if you don't think you're going to need a transcript, go ahead and do the transcript. Note that your recordings are saved to the organizer's drive, my drive. So again, try to be the organizer if you're going to be recording. Same thing with your file transcript. I'm sorry, your transcript file. It will also go to that folder in my drive. And then once you have that recording, you can upload it really, again, to whatever learning system that you're using. If you're familiar and comfortable with video editing, it does download as a file that you can pull in to a video editor. So if you want to go in and add other things, you're able to do that. But from start to finish, you can pretty well make a training using Google products, Google apps. Yep. Thank you so much. I do have some stay connected information here. We'll be sitting out an evaluation. If you have some time to go through that, that would be super duper great. Gives me some feedback, gives our department some ideas of what you would like from us as we move forward. Feel free to follow us on the socials. So yeah, thanks y'all.